my biggest thing is you turn on the TV, or any type of media nowadays, mainstream news, and all you get is, people's heads are blowing up. We're really like at each other's necks. Two people defending their parties, like you said, right? Extremely tribal. It's just screaming. It's like I just, watched this segment for 20 minutes, and I feel like we got nowhere for it. And it just made me feel more depressed. And it's like, it takes us in this moment now to be able to undo that and take a completely different path where we are here to coexist. We are here to try and understand one another. And I think we've started that privately, and now is the perfect time to take it publicly with this podcast.
Right. Absolutely. And that's another huge part of this. It's just that not being able to come to the table, or people thinking that they can't come to the table because they don't have anything to offer. And that's the biggest lie you could ever tell yourself. Because that's exemplified through our relationship, right? We're doing what we can in our space, and we don't have millions of dollars. Well, you might have millions. I don't have millions of dollars to make the type of impact where you think you need to make it and how you need to make it. But if we're really intentional in the space that we're in, think about how many people we influence. And I remember years ago, John C. Maxwell wrote the 21 laws of leadership, irrefutable laws of leadership. And he talked about how in a person's lifetime, they influence 10,000 people. Now, this is someone that's just living their life, everyday life, going to work, doing whatever it is that they do, and they influence 10,000 people in their lifetime. And I was like, wow, that's kind of dope. Imagine if you're being intentional and you have a message. And I was like, oh, wow, I could change the world. I'm saying for me, I'm like, I could change the world, And so I think that, bringing things back to that level where people understand that, for the same reasons people don't believe that their votes count, right? People don't understand a lot of times, what they can do in their own space to make a difference. So this is kind of dope to have a platform where it'd be like, yo, you crazy? Not only have I done this in our relationship, Kyle, I've done this a million times, and people have engaged with people on this level and seen change and, kind of evolution in real time. And it's like, damn, people are not doing this because they're not really communicating at that frequency, because there's so many other distractions, especially when you talk about these hot button issues.
Yeah.
So now it's time, okay, let's dial that shit back, man. Okay, cool, these headlines and stuff, they're designed to grab your attention, right? But I think the problem becomes, when we kind of make this thing our own and we started counting, oh, one for us, that's another loss for them, rather than saying, okay, information, taking this information and be like, okay, this is not just looking at it and analyze, okay, right from wrong. It's like kind of and I won't get into some of the things of recent history, right, that have happened. And you're like, we're all adults, cognitive adults, and this is going on.
Yeah.
Because there's also a level of cognitive dissonance that a person can't really avoid either after a while. So I think it's just being more intentional and more aware of what we're saying, what we're communicating when we're out there. And I say that for my own community, me, and I'm gonna say this, I'm gonna pass it over to you, Kyle. For me, as a formerly incarcerated, very proud Black man, I know that everywhere I go, I'm carrying these flags, right? And so that regardless of whether I want it to or not, what I'm doing, what I'm representing, is impacted by my actions in real time. And I think if we could be more intentional in general like that, and understanding that, yes, my bullshit in the past contributed to some of the bullshit that's going on right now. And I have to accept that, right? But it doesn't mean that was it. That's not the period. There's a lot of other stuff that happened after that, and the story continues. But I think kind of having people to take that stance and open their minds to change and evolution from that stance rather than defending where they are right now. Let's create something new, because all of this was built on something really fucked up when you
Yeah.
think about it. So yeah.
Yeah. It's the whole concept of divide and conquer, which we always hear about, the going back in not just US history, but world history. If you look at the great conquerors, and whether you want to call them military figures or, you know, political leaders, anything like that, so many times we've seen the divide and conquer strategy, either externally or from within, in terms of, you know, creating movements and uprisings and revolutions. And today we're in a lot of the same place. Like, it's so, like you said, it's designed to be like media and mass communication. It doesn't matter if it's, you're looking at the television news, or if you're looking at, now the big one is these social media companies, or you name it, you go down the line. And I mean, we've all heard, if it bleeds, it leads, right? But this stuff is like, we are programmed at this point. We are programmed to not be together. We are programmed to get frustrated with one another, not understand one another, and to, you know, put it this way, unfortunately, there's not a lot of Martin Luther Kings running around right now. There's a lot of people who are just trying to capitalize on a base, and it's really hard to have any sort of unity and the progress that comes with that, when like, of course, at some point people have to take the responsibility, because it is grassroots, right? If you're going to be a leader, you have to start with a community, a small community, and then grow it from there. But even then, aside from kind of people's own free will, the constant 24/7, 7 days a week programming that, and really, I like to say information warfare, because that's really what it is. It's
Right.
psychologically manipulating people
Mhm.
to not even want to be unifiers or positive leaders in their community. And I know there are people out there who are doing it, but I think if we can accomplish anything from this podcast, one of my biggest things that I'd love to see is to create more people just like us, black and white, from very different backgrounds, to building a beautiful relationship that they can then take from a grassroots level. You know, it's like, hey, we listen to black and white, and we love what Terrell and Kyle are saying, so we went and did this. We're you know, doing some advocacy work in the community. We're using our own agency. We're taking action based on some of the things that inspired us from black and white, you know, and I think that would just be a beautiful thing to see.